Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zapper. Like the wind I go and like a man I come. And today I have come to bring you a very special program, and that is an interview for the game Super Dungeon Maker. For those who have never heard of the game before, Super Dungeon Maker is currently an early access to the Dungeon Maker, where you can create your own dungeon and share your creation with others within the game. Developed by Firetrick and published by Rokaplay, the game is inspired by games such as Super Mario Maker and RPG Maker. Joining us today in this video is Miss Flonja Vide. She is a community ambassador from Rokaplay and she will be representing the company for the game Super Dungeon Maker. Now, Miss Flonja, I have been playing Super Dungeon Maker for a while now, and despite my short hours with the game, I can see a very massive hidden potential that Super Dungeon Maker has to be a great game. Which then leads me to having an interview with you along with the very first question I have for this interview. We, the creators, can make our own dungeon, but can we make our own story, add in our own lore, items that allow the creators to leave some sort of lore or background story for their creation, or even add context to their dungeon? Something to let the creators tell the story for the dungeon divers to enjoy. So, my first question to you, Miss Flonja, is there plans to add in items such as signs, boards, or even notes in future updates?
We actually received this request more often than we anticipated and are thinking about a system to allow players to add signs or similar objects with custom messages on them. However, we always need to consider how to moderate things like these, so no inappropriate messages are shared, as the game can also be played by children.
Well, I can see how unwarranted and unsolicited inappropriate messages can be a concern should such a system be in place, especially so when you take into consideration that children might also be playing this game of yours. Though I sincerely hope that there won't be such individual within the community and that the community will be able to regulate itself with the report button in the game. At its current state, Super Dungeon Maker has a limited selection of themes, tilesets, set pieces, and rosters of monsters for the creators to play with, and it is understandable given that the game was released a while back. The more savvy creators are able to get a workaround to add in the only boss in the game, while the rest of us need to patiently wait for future updates. So, it is easy to guess that future updates will definitely consist of more selection of themes, more tilesets, more set pieces, more monsters, and more bosses. So, are we able to create our own monsters and bosses in future updates?
From the beginning we had the plan to implement an enemy and boss editor in the game, that allows builders to create custom enemy and asterisk boss behaviors. However, we have put this on hold for now since we first want to focus on developing a solid foundation for the dungeon builder itself.
From your answer, I'm sure that the creators would be pleased to know that they are capable of creating their own monsters and bosses in future updates, giving them a chance to show off their cool creations or even their elegant stickman doodles. Since they can make their own monsters and boss, are they able to add and adjust the monster attributes and make their own skills or attack pattern to perform?
The editor we have in mind and prototyped so far will have bosses and enemies provided from our side where players can change attributes and behaviors of enemies. The players would be able to adjust attack patterns, speed, and order of how these are performed. At this moment we have no plans to let users upload their own sprites because of the same issue mentioned above, which is moderating this content. But still, a disclaimer at this point. The enemy editor is on hold for now and we will take a fresh look at it when the time has come.
This editor of yours, are we able to change the color palette of the monsters and bosses so that we can make our own tier of monsters such as a normal monster, elite monster, and so forth?
If we continue to work on the enemy editor, this is basically how we planned it to work. Whenever you define a new enemy behavior pattern, you will assign this pattern to a color. That way players of your dungeon will be able to recognize the behavior based on the enemy's color.
From your answer so far, I can see that you have a very strong vision of what you want Super Dungeon Maker to be. So, what will the final state of Super Dungeon Maker look like when it comes out from early access?
We can't really give any list of features for how Super Dungeon Maker will look after early access yet. Of course we have a few things in mind that we want to add, but we also want to listen to our community. Super Dungeon Maker is dependent on players who create great dungeons, so we want to offer them the tools they need to create these dungeons.
Now that we know more about Super Dungeon Maker potential and its future direction, I'm sure that there are some of us who are looking forward to it. Now let's talk about something else. It is mentioned on the Steam store page that Super Dungeon Maker is inspired by games such as Super Mario Maker and RPG Maker, or games that are similar in theme. So, how does Super Dungeon Maker stand out or differ as compared to games like Super Mario Maker and RPG Maker?
As for the other games, we think Super Dungeon Maker differs mainly in genre with Super Mario Maker, which allows you to create fast-paced jump and run levels, and in scope with RPG Maker. The latter allows you to create full-fledged RPG games, which is awesome but also makes the barrier of entry way higher. We want to allow anyone without any prior knowledge to be able to create their own dungeons.
I haven't played Super Mario Maker and RPG Maker myself, but I can say, as someone without any prior knowledge, I was able to make quite a number of dungeons easily. We all know that Super Dungeon Maker is currently in a state of early access and that there are people out there that stay away from such game. I mean, it is a reasonable course of action, as there are cases out there where games are being abandoned and dropped while being in a state of early access. Games such as Stonehearth by Radiant Entertainment, Space Beef DF9 by Double Fine Productions, Castle Story by Soloport Studio, and so forth. Abandoned for reasons only known to them. So, how do you assure the skeptics out there and to those that already have bought the game that Super Dungeon Maker will not be another case of early access abandonment?
People are rightfully skeptical when it comes to this issue, and I don't think there's anything we can say to make this skepticism go away other than that the project is very near to our heart and we want to make it as great as possible.
Now, final question for the interview. The price of Super Dungeon Maker in early access is $14.50. Well, at least that's the asking price in the country that I am in, and that the price will be different based on your country's GDP. It is also reasonable that the asking price of Super Dungeon Maker will increase when the game comes out of early access. So, how do you justify and decide the asking price of Super Dungeon Maker, and will the game be released on another platform?
Pricing games is always a hard task, as there's many factors going into it and it's hard to decide on a fair price. We think that Super Dungeon Maker is priced very fairly for the quality and amount of content it offers, which is only going to expand in the future with more tools for builders, which will result in more and even better dungeons. Apart from Steam, we are currently also planning to release Super Dungeon Maker on the Nintendo Switch.
And there you have it, folks. From Miss Flonja Vite, who is a community ambassador in Rokaplay, we now know the potential this game has and hopefully will be after it comes out from early access. And if you have Nintendo Switch, you can get the Super Dungeon Maker for the Switch when it comes out in the future. Super Dungeon Maker is currently available on Steam for roughly $15 under the early access program. My name is Zephyr, like the wind I go and like a man I come, and thank you for watching this special program of mine all the way till the end. If you'd like to show your support for the channel, please consider subscribing to me. Stay safe, have a wonderful day, and I hope I can see you in the next video. See ya!